Looking at the top 5 starting fives in the NFL. So if you were to take away the quarterback position, just starting 5 skill position players on this one, who we'd have ranked. Who do you think you had number 1?
I'm trying to figure that part. It's quarterbacks out of the equation.
Out of the equation. So he gave the 5 offensive units their 5 best offensive playmakers, and he ranked them 1 through 5. Who do you think's number 1? Do you really not have the list in front of you?
I don't have the list in front of me.
Even better. Who do you think's number 1?
I'm trying to struggle with. I'm really struggling. Taking quarterback out of the equation changes things so dramatically.
So he gave it to the Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, and Austin Hooper.
I think that's I think that's fair.
I think it's overrated.
Okay, who's number 2?
Number 2 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate.
Yeah, not a running back in that bunch.
No, and listen, you can understand, like, running back, if you're going to value all these positions, running back, just as a position is going to be the least valuable. So you can understand that one. And
Where are the Saints on that list?
So they're 3rd.
Yeah.
And I think the Saints should be higher. I think the Saints should be 1 or 2 on this list.
Where's Minnesota on that list right
Minnesota is not in the top 5 on this list. So it goes Cleveland, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Kansas City, and Dallas.
Dallas is a good one. Dallas is a very good one. I'm curious. It sounds like none of these are projections based on what we think will come out of the draft, right?
No, it is. I mean, Kansas City's includes Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
It does.
Dallas's includes CeeDee Lamb in all of this. So it is involving players. Emmanuel Sanders is in the Saints lineup. So it is the current roster of this year as they go into the season. Hence why Rob Gronkowski also wanted for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'll tell you right off the bat, the Browns are too rich for my taste on this list.
Yeah, that might be a little high.
I think any 2 running back group is honestly going to be tough here, because if I'm looking at this and I'm saying groups that I think are maybe undervalued going into this one, first one, and I've been doing this with their quarterback, so it makes only sense that I would do it with their roster. The Detroit Lions are an underrated group of offensive skill players. But again, that's a 2 receiver one.
Yeah.
When you're looking at that one, because it's Marvin Jones in that list.
Kenny Golladay.
It's Kenny Golladay on that list. Danny Amendola on that list. But then you look at the running back group, it's Kerryon Johnson, and they just drafted DeAndre Swift this year, who getting him in the 2nd round for a first-round talent at a position that shouldn't be taken in the 1st round, to me, is like one of those hidden gems of the draft for an O-line they've put a lot of capital into.
And we're not putting in T.J. Hockenson yet in that list as the tight end.
No, you know what? Who probably should be on that list, too, because the other one, like if I'm buying stock in groups right now in the top 5 who could be here, one of those groups is the Denver Broncos.
You just stole my thunder.
Like, you look at Denver and the group they've got there, and part of that is his Iowa tight end buddy, Noah Fant, as he comes on, as he should in year 2, around Drew Lock, when you look at the rest of the cast and crew they've got there.
Just so people understand, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be my sleeper that I think could easily be in the top 5, because you have Noah Fant, you have Phillip Lindsay, they just got Melvin Gordon over from the Chargers. Now let's add in KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy. That is a very impressive group. And let's not forget Albert O, the tight end from Missouri, who put on a freak show at the Combine, the skill set he was able to put together at his size. And that's a guy that Drew Lock threw to at Missouri. So I think the Denver Broncos, by the way, no one has... and I said this during the draft, and I believe it now through free agency as well. No one has looked at the landscape of where they need to go and who they need to get through to get to the postseason better than the Denver Broncos. We're not going to defensively stop Patrick Mahomes. We need to score with Patrick Mahomes. And that's what I love about the Denver Broncos and the way they've done. Von Miller said this. He said, you can't stop them. You maybe hope to get a couple of turnovers, and that will slow them down a little bit. So Denver, with a defensive-minded old-school head coach, by the way, in Vic Fangio, has said, hell yeah, boys, let's put on the afterburners on offense. And I really like the things that they've got around Drew Lock. And I've been on record as saying I think Drew Lock is going to have an amazing year.
So I think that's a group that we'd be willing to bet on in the future. This time next year, if things go the way we'd expect, that could be a top 5 skill group on this one. Who would you put at number 1 on this list? Because I don't think it's the Browns.
I don't think it's the Browns. I feel good about the Saints. And honestly, I feel pretty good about the Cowboys in that situation. And that's taking Dak Prescott again out of the equation because you got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott.
They went Tony Pollard in this one as the other running back. That's the weak link to me.
Well, Tony Pollard is a good change of pace guy for Ezekiel Elliott.
He is, but again, if you're listing two running backs on this, to me, all right, it's clearly like Dallas for a while, and I understand Jason Witten just left for Oakland
Raiders,
or the Las Vegas Raiders in this one. The tight end spot is interesting because I think there's value there. I think the Chiefs should be higher on this. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you and I both agree, is going to be an absolute bonkers fit.
It's a gift from the football gods for Andy Reid.
I think he's fantastic. The only first-round running back from this year. Tyreek Hill's the most unique weapon at receiver in the NFL.
Yes.
I don't think he's the best receiver, but I think he's the most unique, and I think he's the most interesting when it comes to creating a matchup nightmare for your teams. Sammy Watkins and Mecole Hardman are challenging him at the track meet, and then you throw in maybe the best tight end in the NFL. Like Travis Kelce is in that George Kittle conversation for best tight end in the league, and I think that's a position we're not waiting enough. We waited for Tampa Bay,
right,
who's got three guys, none of whom are as good as Travis Kelce. They've just got three of them and an offense that actually looks like a basketball starting five. Yeah. But I don't think we're waiting enough for Kansas City. I think Kansas City should be 2 or 3 in this list.
And you're mentioning Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a rookie. Damian Williams, who was a starter, could have been the MVP of the Super Bowl. He could have easily been the MVP of the Super Bowl. So you're right. Around Mahomes, taking him out of the equation, you've got what we think will be 2 productive running backs, 3 productive wide receivers, and a tight end who might be as good as anybody else in football. It's hard to look at the Kansas City Chiefs and not say they might be on the top of that list.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.